How to tie a standard Orthodox Christian prayer rope with worsted weight wool or acrylic yarn. The approximate length of yarn for a 33-knot standard prayer rope with cross and tassel is approximately 12 yards of yarn. For a 50-knot standard prayer rope with cross and tassel, approximately 15 yards of yarn. For a 100-knot standard prayer rope with cross and tassel, approximately 25 yards of yarn. Fold the yardage in half, then fold in half again, so you have 4 strands of yarn. You will be working with 2 strands on one side and 2 strands on the other. Always keep the same 2 strands together while you work. With the 4 strands of yarn together, measure off approximately 15 inches and tie a slip knot to be used as a temporary anchor to start your first knot as shown in the video that follows. The 15 inches contained in the slip knot will also be used to form the cross and the tassel when you have finished your prayer rope. Prayer ropes are a product of prayer. Pray with every knot as you tie it. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. In the video that follows, you will see me measure off approximately 15 inches and tie a slip knot to be used as a temporary anchor to stop my first knot. As previously mentioned, that 15 inches will be used to form the cross and tassel when the prayer rope is finished. Tying the first knot. In this video, the prayer rope will be 33 knots with yarn, cross, and tassel when finished. Therefore, it has over 12 yards of yarn. That's a great deal of yarn to handle, so I have found that bundling the 2 strands together keeps the yarn neat and easier to handle. While I am making the first and second knot in the video, you will see how I handle each little bundle of yarn. I use a crochet hook with a very tiny end, US 10 or 1.15 millimeter. This is my tool to pull the loops through. Each double strand is pulled 3 times as shown in the video. If the 4 strands should become close together and you can't tell which 2 strands go with which loop, pull a little on each strand until you find the 2 strands that match the loop you are working with. You will see me do this in the video. After you complete your first knot, pull the anchor knot out as it is no longer needed. The video will play shortly. tying the rest of the knots and finishing the prayer rope. For this video, I am tying a 33 knot standard prayer rope, which will have a yarn cross and tassel when completed. I have added 2 blue beads, placing 1 bead after every 11 knots, so they are equally spaced around the prayer rope. You can find similar beads at craft stores. The size is called a pony bead, approximately 6 by 9 millimeter. The yarn cross may be formed different ways. I will be using the macrame square knot technique to form the cross, but I have also used the prayer rope knot technique to make the cross as well. Both are beautiful. If you want to continue using the prayer rope knot technique to make the cross, the best size is 3 knots down and 2 knots on either side, weaving the ends with a large-eyed needle back through the knots and through the middle of the knots down the bottom of the cross to create a tassel. Since this video already acquainted you with the prayer rope knot construction, I will show you the macrame square knot for the cross in the following video. As you see in the image, there are now 8 strands of yarn. All the knots have 4 strands of yarn. In order to keep the same dimensional size of the cross relative to the knots tied, I will be weaving in 2 strands of yarn from the right into the knots on the left, and 2 strands of yarn from the left into the knots on the right. This method also brings the 2 sides together securely to start the macrame square knot cross. I will now have 4 strands to start constructing the macrame square knot to form the cross. Note, because I am using wool or acrylic yarn, I will be weaving in the ends to seal the prayer rope. For those who are familiar with using the 2 millimeter rat tail cording, the cording needs to be sealed by burning to prevent unraveling. You cannot do this with wool or acrylic yarn. You must weave the ends in. The video will play shortly. The macrame square knot to make the cross. Looking at the diagram, you see I have 4 strands of yarn labeled. Yarn strand 1 goes over yarn strand 2. Yarn strand 2 goes over yarn strand 3. Yarn strand 3 goes over yarn strand 4. Yarn strand 4 will go through the loop yarn 1 made when it passed over yarn 2. Lightly tighten the strands to form the first square knot. Lightly is the word here because we will be weaving yarn through the center of each knot to form the arms of the cross and the tassel. Repeat the square knot to achieve the desired length. Ignore the 2 separated 2-strand bundles. Those will be used after the main part of the cross is formed. A video will follow shortly. The macrame square knot to make the arms of the cross. I tied 12 square knots down to make the stem of the cross. You see that in the first image to the left. In the next 2 images on this page, these 2 images show the weaving of the 4 strands of yarn at the base of the stem of the cross that were left over after forming the stem. These 4 strands will be woven back halfway through the center of the stem of the cross. 2 strands will go to the right of the cross and 2 strands will go to the left to form the arms. The macrame square knot to make the arms of the cross. The image to the left shows the 4 strands at the base of the cross were moved to the center of the stem of the cross to begin tying the arms. The image in the center shows the weaving of the ends from the knots to the center of the cross. The image to the right shows that each side of the cross now has 4 strands of yarn in place to begin the macrame square knot. The video that follows will show the square knot technique to create the first arm of the cross. Your prayer rope with yarn, cross, and tassel is now complete. The tassel shown in the second image to the right has the 8 strands of yarn that was woven through the cross. If you want to have a fuller tassel, simply tie in more yarn at the base of the cross. If you do not wish to have a tassel, you can cut off the yarn at the base of the cross, as shown in the first image to the right. The yarn has been woven multiple times at this point, and it will not unravel if you cut the tassel off. Remember, prayer ropes are a product of prayer. Pray while you tie the knots and while you finish the prayer rope. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner.